We're back, and with the thing everybody wanted from my last video, ranking the knockout animations of every Cuphead boss. Don't worry, you viewers who are thirsting for a Smash or Pass video, it's in the pipeline, and hey, you, why don't you leave a suggestion for an upcoming video? It might become a reality no matter how controversial it is. Enough rambling, let's start ranking these knockout animations using quality and creativity as our metrics for success. Starting off with a boss who has neither for one of their animations. Yep, you don't really notice it while playing the game normally, but the Howling Aces have definitively the worst knockout animation in the game by far, as it's a moving PNG akin to that one VTuber concert. I was actually taken aback a little, as this is the first time I've ever noticed it, due to the screen tilting effect being so overstimulating that you could arguably get away with just about anything. They clearly knew this, as I don't think I've seen anyone mention it before, but hey, when you need to design 3 different knockout animations for one boss, I mean, I get it, even if you don't split the budget equally. Next up is one that's just a bit underwhelming for what it could have been. Slot machines are all about flashy movements and colours to brainwash you into paying your only attention to them, as they siphon your family's funds. But this one was clearly made wrong, as it barely moves and might be the least stimulating thing colour-wise in the entire game. The classic knockout jiggle back and forth is going to become a regular thing we see in this video, so it hasn't really lost a lot of hypothetical points for that, it's just that it hasn't actually gained any points anywhere else. No! Why did it have to be Grim? My boy! That's my son! This is like tying your beloved pet of 15 years to a tree and putting it out of its misery. This dragon is cool in every aspect of his fight, but at the very final moment, the most important one to define a legacy, he misses drastically. Not only does his model teleport into position as soon as the knockout activates, a big no-no in my book, but he looks like a deflated balloon and a worm on a string had a child. I get that these animations are supposed to be their lowest point, but this is just pathetic in comparison to every other boss. It even stands out quality-wise, with not much animation and a true feel that it doesn't even fit with a background anymore. You were just fighting for your life against a 3-headed dragon, lightning blasting across the sky, and now you're chilling with a melted popsicle. This is a major fall from grace. Glumstone the Giant, spoiler alert, placed very well in the last video, but it seems that all the creativity juice was well spent there and is running dry as the Sahara here. It's a floppy appendage thrusting up and down rapidly. That isn't very exciting when the whole arena is the boss we've just taken down. If your little internal growth got blasted by some tiny men, I'm sure you'd be in agony, but Cuphead isn't even thrown around at all. They could have made the walls tremble and the stomach acids slosh around, but they didn't. This is very much a wasted opportunity. Giveaway! Sorry, had to get your attention as congrats. You've either accidentally stumbled upon free stuff or were one of the amazing community members who have actually made this possible. Either way, I have hit 10,000 subscribers, and that means that if you subscribe and comment on this video, you'll be entered into my £50 gaming gift voucher giveaway. You should also go and comment on my post about this, as it counts as an extra entry. If you win, I'll let you know, and all you need to do is reply to my reply with either your Instagram or Twitter handle, and I'll DM you there. Don't give away any other private info, as all I need is that and the platform you want the code for, be it Xbox, PlayStation or Steam. Good luck! The next giveaway will be at 20,000 subscribers, so tell everyone you know to subscribe. The more I get, the more I can give away. We are still firmly within the bosses who just vibrate on the spot, as Goopy's tombstone just does that. To be fair, I wouldn't really expect a tombstone to give much of a reaction to being damaged, so it gets a mild pass. And I do like that it is at least cracked in half, so you can feel the weight of your blows, even if it is completely illogical, as none of your shots will typically cause this kind of damage, apart from your super or charge shot. All I've got noted down for the Tipsy Trio is that saggy glass is weird. I guess so, yeah. Can't hold liquid if you practically are liquid. In fact, does this mean that these containers have been heated up to the melting point of glass by our attacks? That'd be awesome and sound logic if Toon Force didn't ruin everything. Back on track, Will. Okay, the animations are simple and do continue their basic back and forth movement, but they are a tiny bit more interesting than the prior bosses, because they all activate individually, but do all technically count towards the final knockout. I have avoided entity knockouts across the game, as they are more like phase transitions, and I plan on doing a video for those too. But these are very much main knockout animations that are uninspiring. When this group of pawns loses its final member, they all freeze and writhe around in pain as if they're connected to some sort of hive mind. Individually, not impressive, but as a group, the missed timing on their animation and occasional spawn of a ghost is a little bit of a spectacle. It's like watching a fireworks show, but the fireworks are the ghosts of your victims. Pirouetta is doing the classic swooning shtick, even pulling poses Michael Jackson would be jealous of. It's not exciting or unique, so that's why I'm kinda glossing over her a bit. She strikes 2 uninspired poses over and over again. Better than the rest, but still not great. It would have been 10 times funnier if Sally was still being flown around uncontrollably by the stage tech than just stopping dead once she was taken out in this animation. The animation itself doesn't have much going on, it's just kind of sad, and thus, yeah, having her moving around would have given off the same energy as that one Impractical Joker's punishment, where they lob Joe around on a stage, which was very funny, and would have been very funny here, and a bit of a distraction from the lack of charm this animation has. For some reason, without actually paying much attention to this, I thought this was him ripping his hair out, or just grabbing it angrily. On closer consideration, I realized that this skeleton doesn't of course have hair, but that's beside the point as he's clearly expressing anger. Since what he's grasping isn't hair but instead money, I'd imagine it's about a failed bet. You know, because that's kind of the whole theme of this entire game, and casinos. I think this is fun, especially as I like to see other people fail bets in similar ways to myself, but overall there isn't enough animation for it to go any higher. This dude is having a straight up panic attack. Maybe it's because he's seen what happens to dice minions when they fail him. Kindly enough though, this is enough for us to have officially beaten him, as we can't hit him anymore. I guess causing a rabbit to have a mental breakdown is enough. This is a wacky animation and obvious effort has been put into it. It's a shame though that it's not got any real meaning. Oh god no, it's back. Teleporting animations, I hate them. They're so jarring in a game that's all about fluid animation and the boss is feeling alive. You take out King Dice and his attacks disappear in an instant, only for him to flounder around pathetically with his hands, that are now significantly smaller than before. It's an interesting visual for sure, but one that has been born out of inconsistency. I do also like that he is so active, with him throwing that dice head of his around like a madman. It's alright. Brineybeard's regular mode knockout is underwhelming, but not bad. Do you get me? The next few spots are really for the ones that fulfill their purpose without having anything necessarily negative about them. But yeah, other than the fact that this boat looks like a dehydrated dog in the summertime, there isn't really anything positive I can say about this. I just don't have much of an opinion either way. When really thinking about it, they could have done more, as the barrel still moves around looking for its next attack, even though the fight is over and we never see Brineybeard himself again. Maybe he could have floated by on a buoy holding a little white flag and the barrel could be writhing in pain along with the boat. These would have been great additions, but it's not a problem really that they aren't here. I've seen this before. Don't worry, Hilda, your crescent going limp like this is a natural symptom of age, and it's no wonder you can't keep it up when you've just been blasted with enough minigun fire to take out a battleship. There isn't a lot of animation yet again, but she's made up for it with this perfectly damaged expression. I like some personality, and I really feel like her expression displays how badly we've messed her up. The crooked nose and general shrivel of her whole frame is a good design, but again, it can't go any higher as it isn't actually that creative. I'm impressed at the PNG, not the animation. This might have been the hardest thing to design a knockout animation for, as I'd imagine it's very difficult to come up with something fun and unique for an inanimate object. Excellent concept overall, but this did leave them in a tricky spot for S for Winchester's knockout. Let me come up with something real quick. Yeah, oh, no idea. The jiggling around is stock standard for these and arguably fits the most here, and I really like the sausage ghosts who are finally free and making their way up to heaven. Hold on, this implies that we trap the souls of the animals we feed on in their spam containers, only releasing them from their mass-produced prison when we are ready to devour their remains. Ugh. Hold on guys, isn't this crazy? We've got another basic pain animation. I will give it credit though for being very noticeable and honestly well animated. It's just that, as with almost everything I've gone over regarding Jimmy the Great on this channel, they don't use the genie part very well. He could have been doing so much more than a simple cough side to side. It's like having every ingredient in the world in front of you and then choosing to make fish and chips. I get it, as fish and chips works great, and I'm not calling this bad, it's just that it could have been top tier if they were a lot more creative. Quite simply, this next animation is in this spot, because while it is another simple repeating animation, the way he pulls on his stalk as if it's his hair embodies the creativity that Cuphead likes to showcase in all of its small details. They actively thought out and animated this thing that barely anybody will pay attention to, just to add a little more charm to the game and make its characters feel so real. This carrot could have just been wincing in pain, exactly like Jimmy, but they were obviously feeling a little more ambitious on the day that they animated this guy. It's a shame it's not going to get a higher placement, but that seems to be the fate of the Root Pack. Don't want to waste all the good stuff in the budget at the start, do we? I love Baroness von Bonbon for this. She has just been die-hard fighting for her life, only for her to give up and have a strop. Nothing's ever over until it's over, but clearly her mental has broken before her body. No wonder someone who's likely been handed everything in her life wouldn't be capable of doing something for herself for even a minute. The animation is fine, and I've got to give her extra credit for the fact that her castle is also animated, meaning that this likely took a lot more effort to make than most. Still not very creative, though we are getting there now. Brineybeard's back again, but how? Well, it's simple. No, that's it. It's literally the simple mode. I'd never seen this before, as you wouldn't catch me dead playing simple mode legitimately. And to be honest, who is genuinely going to play Briny Beard on simple mode? You have to beat the regular mode of bosses to unlock the next ones, and we are so far into the game here that you should really just be playing regular. I guess practicing on something simple isn't the worst idea, but it is different enough to the main fight that you'd still have to learn some bits anyway, and do it better than before. The animation is unique and gives the boat far more personality than the normal knockout, and we actually get to see Briny Beard's reaction to his defeat. I like this a lot, and it's very well animated. I think it's standing out to me though, as unlike with all the other animations, I've never seen this one before. That's why it can't go much higher, but I do respect it and prefer it over his normal one. This is what we like. Some crazy random stuff that makes little sense, but adds action and excitement. I don't know why the chips get flung out at around the same speed as a bullet train, but they do, and it works for some reason. While it does kill realism, it's at least something interesting, rather than Mr. Bettigan doing this sulk at the top. If the chips didn't move away, we wouldn't have this interesting visual of the collapsed chips forming a warped face, as they'd still be stacked on top of each other perfectly. The early quick movements do well to distract us from the fact that there's barely any movement otherwise, so with the context that this is a dice minion, it's well done. I think I would have preferred if the bishop kept moving around frantically, as some cursed spirit losing control after death. But no, the excitement dies down a little because he stops. I like that his hat becomes an organ and his teeth piano keys, making it quite a solid little animation that does ooze some creativity, but overall, yeah. The Howling Aces are back to try to claw some respect back. This is the part of the final phase that I think you're meant to win on, as it has gotten a notably bigger budget. The back and forth of the dog airship is quite standard, though I'm not judging, as the airship commander hangs out one of the portholes so that you can see what you've done. This isn't just a machine you've beaten up to steal some ingredients, but an actual person, and you should be ashamed. Cuphead is truly evil, and this showcases the terror and pain you inflict on others throughout the DLC. Just to bake a tart. As I'm writing this, I can't even remember what Pip and Dot do. That's not great, but clearly I ranked them here for a reason. My notes say, good gag with solid animation. Awesome. Real descriptive there, Will. Now I know exactly what to talk about. Hold on, I'm going to watch it again and give you my instant reaction. Oh, this is one I really like. I don't know how I forgot about this, and yet I've remembered all the rest of them. To be fair, it has been a whole day since I wrote my notes. Anyways, yeah, the bottom piece kicking the top piece in the eyes is indeed a good gag with solid animation. It's fun, and that's what we want. Okay, now you're getting greedy. The only boss with 3 knockout animations. At least this one's good though, even if it's the exact same as her regular animation, but with puppies tagged along for the ride. More stuff on the screen equals more content. It doesn't elevate it much, but it has put the Howling Aces one space higher. Cala Maria is reasonably creative and very memorable. This shocked face is imprinted in my memory banks, and I'm sure that it will be the last thing I see as I'm flashed with all my memories on my deathbed at 60. Her snake hair playing her a sad song on a random violin is also pretty funny, but still isn't huge on the animation side. This also implies that Cala Maria does still have a bit of energy left to fight, but instead, like Bonbon, decides to sulk. Girl, your literal soul is on the line, you can't just give up and sulk. I'd be throwing everything I had at Cuphead with no regard for my own health, as if he wins, my health isn't going to be the biggest worry for me. Beppy's might be the first one that actually stands out to me as something I like. It's got the same continuous animation as all the others, but in a creative and engaging way. This makes his colours literally pop, as they are practically thrown at you with this wacky tubiness. The stripe splitting is an excellent idea that is exacerbated by the fact that everything keeps going. Unlike with Briny Beard's barrel, the roller coaster still going round seemingly out of control very much adds to the chaos. If you take out the controller of a fairground ride, who's going to turn the rides off? This also kind of gives you something to do after the fight is ended, as typically you sit there like a lemon, but you can jump between the platforms avoiding the roller coaster, creating a meaningless challenge to keep your brain awake just like you'd do in any other game's spawn room. This next one is significantly empty and less engaging than the previous one, but does something that I don't think we ever see anywhere else. It opens up and creates its very own unique design for Werner Vermin, one that you will only see for a couple of seconds. Not only do I respect the commitment, as they would have put way too much effort into this, but it also completely shatters our perspective of this entire boss fight. The cat isn't a separate entity. Only it's a mech suit put on autopilot in the early phases. And this does very much imply that Werner kills his own brethren. Ooh. So yeah, while it lacks in really any animation, the reveal is phenomenal. These dudes were so upset at their initial ranking that they are back with their own simple mode animation. And I've got to say, it is so much better. I think the animators made this one using all the budget, and then found out that they had to make the proper one. This has solid animations with a lot of effort put into the crying animation. There is also just, as a whole, a lot more movement. I will say again that I think this is being elevated slightly by the fact that I've never actually seen this before, and new things are interesting, but to be fair, High Guard was new and nobody found that interesting. I would like to put in a disclaimer that it wasn't the devs' fault that High Guard went down, and I feel really sorry for them. Next, we've got the king of being iconic, Mr. Chimes, the dude who smashes cymbals together and nothing much else, and that's why it's a no-brainer for this guy to absolutely smash his own brain in when he's knocked out. I don't think anything else really would have worked. Like, do you want him to do a little jiggy or something? It's not necessary. This shows his violent, self-destructive nature at defeat with solid animation, and that works for me. From Dice 9 to Dice 8, Mangosteen is our next boss, or should I say mini-boss, and he's doing his best impression of my sister after a night out. This knockout takes up the entire screen, not only with his puke, but also with the chalk getting flung outwards. It's striking and unforgettable, like most people are after a night out, even if they themselves forget about it. For its sheer presence and decent animation, this deserves the title of having the best King Dice mini-boss knockout animation. Have you ever seen the life drain from another person's eyes? I have in Cagney's boss fight. His eyes are already dark, but when he loses, he tilts his head back and his irises retreat into the void. This might be the most horrific frame in the entire game, as if he isn't moving, he genuinely looks like a corpse. Fun! Everything's drooping and he's got his tongue doing its thing, so overall it's very good at portraying a flower that's just been crushed. I'm also giving it bonus points for carrying my most popular video's thumbnail. Sorry, not sorry. I wasn't expecting much from the Moonshine Mob's knockout, especially as their fake one is significantly more memorable, but I was severely taken off guard and actually let out a shocked laugh in the middle of a room full of people. Psychopathic behavior, yes, though there was nothing I could have done to prepare myself for this anteater to somehow revive itself after being knocked out when his boss was the one to be knocked out. It makes no sense, but I like the idea that it's just a coincidence that the anteater just decided to rock back and forth violently like a madman for seemingly no reason. Look at this little fellow trying to hang on for dear life. It's as if he's one of those bull rides out of Fate. This is fundamentally hilarious. Other than the fact that I cannot grasp what her head is supposed to be, this animation gets so much respect for its fluid, perfect animation that fits just so well. Her casually lying down like true royalty at the same time as catching her head on the pole is seamless. This is then also followed by a very well animated spin as our repeating animation, something that should be repeating, which makes us not even consider it a lazy choice. Honestly, bravo. If it was a little bit more creative with its premise, it would probably be in the upper echelons of this list. Freeze for just a second, because we need to talk about Mortimer, who is in the same category as our chess piece Noble. The animation of his ice melting away is stunning, seamless, and doing something for me. Even the premise of it melting to reveal Morty is really creative, as they could have left him in this form just doing some generic coughing animation like Jimmy or Hildeberg. Instead, we get less major repeating animation for a one-time reveal of a small repeating animation that makes total sense. He's even suffering from a fever from the heat we've been blasting into him for the last couple of minutes. Not the first time this has happened to him, I'm sure, though it was probably in a different context. Yes! Screw repeated animations. I love something unique and purposeful. To be fair, with how different this secret boss is as a whole, they clearly didn't feel the need to massage our neurons with a constant cycle. The freeze frame of shock followed by them being dragged into the abyss is not only morbid, but attention grabbing. What happens to these dream manifestations once they are gone? I don't know, and I probably don't want to find out, especially as their initial expressions are the most ghastly in the game. While I'm not a fan of Rumour's face going red as a tomato after being defeated, everything else about this knockout animation is pretty perfect. The wings flapping like a bird is a fun touch, and a head spinning around for no reason is full of the random whimsy of this game. Not to mention that this is a weirdly complex animation overall. I think it has to be top tier, if the only issue I have with it is an artistic choice based on colour. I dabble in a little horse riding from time to time, and thus I love bucking. A horse I used to ride was all about bucking. From sheer excitement, I actually loved sitting through them all. That's why I feel somewhat nostalgic from watching this animation. It's very accurate to how horses spook and buck in real life, and I love how well they've animated the three-dimensional spin of it all. His armor blasting off is the cherry on top of a solid animation. Hold on, wait a second. Hold your horses. Didn't I say Mangosteen was the king of the King Dice mini-boss knockout animations? Oh no, I did. Forget that! Mr. Wheezy is definitively the most interesting. You get to see King Dice's size well, and in a creative, if also abusive, way. And the freeze frame of Wheezy looking up in horror is one of the only things I truly remembered about these animations without looking at my notes. Another banger that actually is the king of the King Dice mini-boss knockout animations. I hope I don't have to say that again. My poor baby, the Phantom Express, recoils back in pain like a wounded dog when it's defeated. I feel actual emotion when I see this, and that's a compliment to the animators, making the pain this inanimate object is displaying feel way too real. I think the quality of the animation contributes to this feeling, and the slow movement back uses this thing's gripless connection to the tracks very well. It's almost like it's ice skating. Great job with this one, but also please never make me feel this bad again. Mad scientists are by name something that are known for displaying emotion, but it's actually his lack of emotion here that makes this animation so good. The robot itself actually displays more, as it huffs and puffs, causing a huge explosion of steam, blasting Dr. Carl and destroying any aura or ego he has. Even though there isn't much animation after the initial blast, it's memorable enough, and this expression is funny enough for it to claim forth. Congratulations, my small porcelain cups of beverage! You've completed the entire game, and this animation is the last thing you're ever going to see, in the context of actually fighting anything in the main story. This animation is done incredibly well for portraying not only a defeated opponent, but also that the entire building is about to come down. Effort has been put into every pixel, and the repeated animations aren't even noticeable when it's happening not only to Saltbaker's heart, but also the walls of Salt. These aren't even simple coughs either, as the heart has a personality-filled jolt back and forth, and the walls look very much like one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. There is certainly dark magic going on here, and it shows. I'll be honest, I think there is a lot of bias going into this specific ranking, as realistically, it's on the same kind of level as Shimi's. It takes up the whole screen and is just a repeating animation of the devil in pain. This is, however, the last moment of the entire game excluding the DLC, on a boss that was notoriously hard. Seeing this animation is an accomplishment, and the joy felt from beating the game has kind of attached itself to seeing this. I feel great every single time I beat the devil, even if it's trivial at this point, as I'm brought back to being Tiny Wily, overcoming the odds for the first time. It's also not that bland of an animation, taking up half the screen with some lovely colours. And finally, numero uno, the bird. This is everything I've brought up as an issue throughout the video, but completely makes up for it being arguably the most iconic gag in the game. These chicks have frantically been trying to keep this dude alive, and the second he's gone, they get him ready for the oven. Like seriously, I bet he hadn't even made it through the heavenly gates before these guys get the salt and pepper out. I'm not saying they're wrong for this, I'm sure he'll be delicious, but I wouldn't personally want a doctor who would also switch up on me in an instant like this. What a great gag, and well worthy of our #1 spot, even if the animation is pretty simple. What I don't like is that you haven't subscribed yet. Haha, I got you before you clicked off. But in all seriousness, please subscribe. And don't forget to comment to join my giveaway. You've got a good chance of winning. The video on screen right now is what YouTube wants you to watch next, so do it. Or don't, I'm not your mum. Oh, and my Cuphead playlist is ever growing, so there will be something in there that you like. See you in the next video.